Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a fall TBR. I'm so excited for fall. My birthday's in November. I love all the fall activities. And so I'm just really excited for fall. I'm actually wrapping up my summer TBR right now. I'm finishing up the love lyric. And as I've been going through this last week, I've been grabbing books from my bookshelves of like ones that I want to get to during the fall. Most of these are either horror, mystery, and then there may be an historical fiction in here, and then a few are young adult as well. So let's get right into this video. So the first two books on my list are horror books, and this genre is new to me, so I'm super excited to fill out how I feel about these books. I'm usually a historical fiction, contemporary fiction, romance, self-help / psychology person, and so this will be interesting to see if I like the genre. Both of these books are also by Black authors, and they're books that I picked up over the last few months and I just kept on my shelves because I've been waiting for the perfect moment to read them. And of course, the fall time and winter time are perfect times to read them. So this first book is called Listen to Your Sister. The author is Nina Veal. And so I'm just gonna read the description on the back of each book just to tell you more about it. But this book is about 25-year-old Kala Williams. She's struggling since becoming guardian to her brother Jamie. Kala is overwhelmed and tired of being the one who makes sacrifices to keep the family together. Jamie, full of good-natured 16-year-old recklessness, is usually off fighting for what matters to him or getting into mischief, often at the same time. Dre, their brother, promised he would help raise Jamie, but now that the ink is dry on the paperwork, in classic middle child fashion, he's off doing his own thing, and through it all, the nightmare never stops haunting. Kala, reoccurring images of her brother dying that she is powerless to stop. When Jamie's action at a protest spiral out of control, the siblings must go on the run, taking refuge in a remote cabin that looks like it belongs on a slasher movie poster rather than an Airbnb, and the siblings now face a new threat where their lives and reality hang in the balance. So I've heard nothing but great things about this book from the girlies on TikTok. And so I'm really excited to pick this one up. So this is one of my horror books. And then the second book that's on my list is actually a new release. I think it released last month. And it is called Blood Slaves. And this is by Marcus Redman. I went to several Barnes & Noble to find this book. And I finally was able to find it on the shelf. And so this book takes place during 1710. It takes place in a province of Carolina. And the inside says, when freedom seems unattainable for Willie, for his beloved Gertie, and for their unborn child, they live, suffer, and toil under their brutal master James, Big Jim Barrow, whose grand plantation was built by the blood, sweat, and tears of the enslaved. To flee this hell on earth is to be hunted and killed until one strange night, Willie is offered a dark hope by Rafazi, an enigmatic slave with an irresistible and blood-chilling path to liberation. So this combines both mystery, horror, like some historical fiction as well into this novel. And I believe this is going to be a part of the series. I think the author is working on a second book. Don't quote me on that. I believe I've seen some of that online. And so really excited to get into this one too. I really hope I enjoy it. So if it does become a series, I can pick it up once the new book comes out. But these two books are my horror reads for the fall. So my next three books are categorized as fiction. These are books all by Black authors as well. You see a pattern. They've been on my shelf for a while. I picked them up, and I would say like all within like the last year or so. They've been on my shelf for a minute, and so I'm really excited to finally get to them. And the first one is The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois, and the author is Honoré Fannin Jeffers. And this is actually on Oprah's Book Club back in 2021. And the reason I have not read this book is because she is gigantic. But I said either now or never. So let's get to it. And so a little bit about this book. It starts by saying the great scholar W.E.B. Du Bois once wrote about the problem of race in America and what he called double consciousness, a sensitivity that every African American possesses in order to survive. Since childhood, Ailey Pearl Garfield has understood Du Bois's words all too well. bearing the names of two formidable Black Americans, the revered choreographer Alvin Alley and her great-grandmother Pearl, the descendant of enslaved Georgians and tenant farmers. Allie carries the boys' problems on her shoulders. Allie is reared in the north in the city, but spends summers in the small Georgia town where her mother's family has lived since their ancestors arrived from Africa in bondage. Since she was a child, Allie has fought a battle for belonging that is made all the more difficult by a hovering trauma and the whispers of women, her mother, Belle, her sisters, Lydia, and a maternal line reaching back 2 centuries who urge Allie to succeed in their stead. To come to terms with her own identity, Allie embarks on a journey through the family's past, uncovering the shocking tales of generations of ancestors, indigenous, Black and white, in the Deep South. Along the way, Allie must learn to embrace her full heritage, a legacy of oppression and resistance, bondage and independence, cruelty and resistance. That is the story and the song of America itself. And from what I've heard about this book, nothing but great things again. A lot of people were saying how, like, regardless of the length, this is worth a read and it's a must read. And so I'm excited to dive into this. And usually during the fall, I find myself sitting down for longer periods of time and reading more, specifically outside when the weather's nice and it's not scorching outside. So I'm gonna be really excited to pick this up on one of those days. And so yeah, I'm excited to get back to y'all and let y'all know what I thought about this. And then the next book, this is considered fiction. On the back, it's fiction, but I thought this would be a horror book, so maybe I'm wrong. But the next book is also by Black author. It's called The Reformatory. Author's name is Tanarava Dew. That's her name. I probably pronounced it wrong, and I'm so sorry. But the back of the book says, well, first, the book takes place in Gracetown, Florida. So this is one of my few Florida reads that I have. And the year is June 1950. And so 12-year-old Robbie Stephens Jr. is sentenced to 6 months at the Gracetown School for Boys, an institution for kicking the son of the largest landowner in town defense of his older sister, Gloria. So begins Robbie's journey further into the terrors of the Jim Crow South and the very real horror of the school they call the Reformatory. Robbie has a talent for seeing ghosts or haunts, but what was once a comfort to him after the loss of his mother has become a window into the truth of what happens at the Reformatory. Boys forced to work to remediate their so-called crimes have gone missing, but the haunts Robbie sees hint at worse things. Through his friends Redbone and Blue, Robbie is learning not just the rules, but how to survive. Meanwhile, Gloria is rallying every family member and connection in Florida to find a way to get Robbie out before it's too late. And even S.A. Cosby, he left a blurb for this as well. He called it hallucinatory, haunting, terrifying, and moving. And I just finished S.A. Cosby's news release, really enjoyed it. So if he enjoyed this, then I should enjoy it too. And I don't know if you can tell a theme either, but like Jim Crow South, any books taking place in the South, I really enjoy. That's kind of my niche. And so that's where like that historical fiction element comes in too. If this was just about, I feel like I wouldn't read horror books I wouldn't read horror books if they weren't placed during like the Jim Crow South or during a time period that was like very difficult for African Americans, just so I could better understand the history that comes with that time period, rather than reading something that is truly fictional that has no historical significance, if that makes sense. But one of my other anticipated reads for the fall time, because I am type A, let's fix that. And then my next book, this is another fiction book by a Black author, and this is another thick book, but nonetheless, we're excited to read it. Hopefully this doesn't derail my goal for the year to read 40 to 50 books. Right now I'm at 21, so hopefully these thick books don't like completely ruin that, but we'll see. But the third book for my fiction category is Ours, and the author is Philip B. Williams. Very thick, very thick. How many pages is this? 580. I barely get through 320. 320 is a lot for me. So we'll see what this 580 does. But this book, this ingenious, sweeping novel introduces us to a woman named Saint, a fearsome conjurer who in the 1830s annihilates plantations all over Arkansas. Okay, there goes my theme. All over Arkansas to rescue the people enslaved there. She brings those she has freed to a haven of her own creation, a town just north of St. Louis, magically concealed from outsiders named Ours. It is the miraculous place that Saint Grand experiment, a truly secluded community where her people may flourish, take roots. But although Saint does her best to protect the inhabitants of Ours, over time her conjuring and memories begin to betray her, leaving the town vulnerable to intrusions by newcomers with powers of their own. As the cracks in Saint's creations are exposed, some begin to wonder whether the community's safety might be yet another form of bondage. Some, set over the course of 4 decades and steeped in rich tradition of American literature, informed by Black surrealism, mythology, and spirituality, Ours is a stunning exploration of the possibilities and limitations of love and freedom by a writer of capacious vision and talent. Does that not sound amazing? And honestly, well, I was about to say, I haven't read many books about or set place in Arkansas, but I actually have Daniel Black's Perfect Peace was set place in Arkansas. So that was one of the books that I've read. I should make it a challenge to try and read a book in every state. I think that would be a good challenge for myself. We'll work on that. But this is my last fiction read actually for the fall, and so I'm hoping that I can get to either this one or this one. I gotta finish one of these, and I think the fall time is the perfect time to do that. Honestly, the summertime could have been the perfect time as well, because with this heat I haven't been leaving the house at all. Okay, so my next category of books, and I hate that I have to put this up and that I haven't read it, but I haven't. But it is a romance, and it is Tia Williams' A Love Song for Ricky Wilde. I'm sorry, I have not read this. And I was actually thinking today, I'm really wrapping up my romance era for the summer. I'm kind of over it, and I'm really excited to get into these books. But I said that my typical pattern in the past is to read a whole historical fiction, a contemporary fiction, and then a romance. That's my usual pattern that I go. And here lately, I've been hitting romance back to back to back to back just because I wanted to finish them for the summer. And they've been great, but it's I also know myself and I need to break up the romances and the historical fictions just to give my mind time to process them. But I decided to throw in a romance into this, and this is the perfect romance to read during the fall. We're staying on the spooky, eerie, ghost, theme. And so this book is about Ricky Wilde. She has many talents, but being a Wilde isn't one of them. As the impulsive artistic daughter of a powerful Atlanta dynasty, she's the opposite of her famous socialite sister. Where they are long stem roses, she's a dandelion, an adorable bloom that is actually a weed born to float wherever the wind blows. In her bones, Ricky knows that somewhere a different, more exciting life awaits her. When a regal Miss Dela invites her to rent the bottom floor of her Harlem brownstone, Ricky jumps at the chance for a fresh beginning. She leaves behind her family, wealth, and chaotic romantic decisions to realize her dream of opening a flower shop in New York City. And just beneath the surface of her new neighborhood, the music stores, stories, and dazzling drama of the Harlem Renaissance still simmers. One evening in February, as the heady, curiously off-season scent of night-blooming jasmine fills the air, Ricky encounters a handsome, deeply mysterious stranger who knocks her world off balance in the most unexpected way. Set against the backdrop of a contemporary Harlem and 1920 decadence, A Love Song for Ricky Wilde is a modern fairy tale of two passionate artists drawn to the magic and romance of New York and whose lives are irresistibly linked. And so big themes in this book are magic and realism. I think that's the word. Magical realism is the word that I was looking for. And I just completely separated them. But one of the themes for this book is magical realism. I also like that it's set during the Harlem Renaissance as well. I read one other book this year that was set in the Harlem Renaissance, or during the Harlem Renaissance, and that was Victoria Christopher Murray's. It's on the tip of my tongue. I got the cover in my head, but I forgot the title. And it featured W.E. Du Bois. I can't even think of the title. Hang on. What? The title is Harlem Rhapsody. Yeah, I read that as well this year. And that was an okay book too. That was pretty good. I think I rated that like 3 or 4 stars. I didn't like how we were doing my girl Jessie in that book. Like, she was more than W.E.B. Du Bois. She was more than that. And that was like the central focus of the book. That was my only gripe. I would have loved to have learned more about her and like all of her successes in that book rather than that relationship. Girls, we got to do better. Okay. And I had to run to my shelf because I feel like we got a good rotation going right now. But if I'm being honest, there are a set of books. It's actually a series, and I feel like the series is getting added to every year. But this is a series that I started during childhood as a preteen, and I haven't picked up probably since then, since the first 3 came out. But so this is the year where I want to catch up. I want to catch up on the 2 newest release. And so I got them all on hardcover like a crazy person, but it was actually cheaper than going to Barnes and getting them. I found them on sale for Amazon, and then I just went to Barnes and got the last one, the newest release, because what I couldn't do is get the first 4 on paperback and the newest release on hardback. Absolutely not. Absolutely. But that series that I am talking about, none other than Suzanne Collins' The Hunger Games. And so I have all 5 books here. And so I've read these already. I haven't read them since I was a child though. So the actual Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and then Mockingjay. That's Mockingjay, right? Yeah, Mockingjay. I haven't read these since I was like in either middle school. I think it was middle school, like 8th grade. So I'm excited to see what I think about them now. And then of course I'm gonna rewatch the movies. But the 2 newest ones, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then this newest release, Sunrise on the Reaping, I have not read. I've seen this movie, but I have not read this book, nor have I read that one. And so these are like my bonus books. Like, these are my priority, but if I have more time, then I would like to get to these as well. And so truly, this is my fall TBR. And I guess I should have started the video off by preferencing, when does fall start for me? Fall is going to start as soon as I finish The Love Lyric by Christina Forrest. And it is going to continue probably until my birthday. My birthday's on November 27th, so it's on Thanksgiving this year. So that's maybe when my fall TBR will end. But honestly, I don't know what you would include in a winter TBR. So, I mean, all of these books I may just be carrying over into the remainder of the year. But these are like my priority. And of course, I like to go to the library, so I may be adding on more. There are also a couple of young adult like fantasy books that I have. Like the Ace of Spades is one of them that's on my shelf that I didn't grab, that I may include as well. But y'all, this is my TBR. We got these books, and then we got all of those beautiful books back there. Let me know if you've read any of them and what you thought about them. And until next time, be blessed.